All right, what is up, Utes fans? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest. And today we are going to be talking about Utah's offense against Penn State's defense. Utah's offense is going to be without Dalton Kincaid, as well as Penn State's defense is going to be without uh, big time cornerback Joey Porter Jr. So both teams are going to be a little handicapped on these two sides of the ball, but it should be an exciting matchup to break down. I think Utah's still going to have a lot of firepower coming into this matchup. I think Penn State's got a really good defense, even without Joey Porter. Honestly, surprisingly enough, Joey Porter is not even their freaking best corner on the team. And that's crazy to say. So, this should be an awesome breakdown here. If you guys haven't already watched, there's a video I made of Penn State's offense versus Utah's defense. So make sure you guys check that if you haven't already. I'm going to add this one to the same playlist so you can go through the whole playlist. Should make it fun to watch them all. And before we dive in, guys, make sure you like the video. Please make sure you guys comment down below. Um, comment down below if you guys have any questions, any other stars you think that are worth bringing up. And most of all, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We're going to be putting out a lot of Rose Bowl content, whether you're a Penn State fan or a Utah fan. There will be a lot of Rose Bowl content over the next, couple of weeks, and I'm excited to bring it to you guys. And on that note, let's go ahead and dive in and check out the matchup. All right, and let's start with the stars for both teams. The big star for Utah is going to be Cameron Rising. Wham bam, thank you, Cam, as I have come to call him. He is an awesome player, just a gamer, a guy that when it's clutch time, when you need a play, 9 times out of 10, he's getting it done. Now, Cam has had a pretty wild season. He had some really good games and he had some not so good games. More specifically than any other one, the Oregon game, right? I guess you could throw the Arizona game in there, but that was really we just started beating them pretty badly early in the game, and then he got benched, and but he didn't play poorly in the Oregon game or in the Arizona game. Really, it was the Oregon game that had you a bit concerned. In the Oregon game, 21 for 38, 170 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 picks. Yes, there were tips. There were tip balls that led to 2 of the 3 picks, but there was also a really bad pick. He had a tough day. He had a tough day. But in general, I think some Utah fans and probably some, critics are focusing a little too much on the bad games with Cam. Cam is still a really good quarterback. Check out that USC game, 22 for 34, 310 yards, 3 touchdowns. Really good numbers, guys. And he's got a bunch of other really good games in here, too, like the San Diego State game. I know San Diego State isn't good, but it is what it is. Oregon State, who looked awesome yesterday against Florida, he threw 3 touchdowns. I mean, the first USC game as well, 415 yards, 2 touchdowns. And I'm not even looking at his 409 rushing yards. We're just talking about the passing yards. But Cam is a dual threat quarterback, can get it done with his feet and with his arm. He's a really good player and should be a big factor in this game. I'll talk about it here in a little bit about how what we're going to need to do to win this game, but Cam will be a big part of it. I'm sure that'll foreshadow it a little bit for you guys, but Cam will be a big part of whether or not we win this game. All right, and the other guy I picked as the star player for Utah's offense, Dalton Kincaid is opt out, like I said, but I feel like no one else deserved it more, especially recently, than Jaquindon Jackson, right? I feel like Jaquindon Jackson has really come into his own as a star running back on the Utes. I mean, you look at the past 4 games for this guy, 7.5 yards a carry, 7.7 yards a carry, 11.7 yards a carry, 8.1 yards a carry, and in those 4 games, 6 touchdowns along with that. So those touchdowns, even not that many touchdowns, knocks down your yards per carry a little bit. And don't think he's just feasting on the week. Yards per rush attempt versus top 25 opponents is 7.5 yards a carry. The guy is a playmaker. The guy gets it done, and there's not many running backs that I would rather have than this guy. Like I said, real big time playmaker in Jaquindon Jackson, a guy that I think is going to be a beast in the coming year and this year. He's really only a freshman in his classification, so that's pretty awesome. He should be a beast for a few years to come. Excited to see Jaquindon Jackson hit the field. The guy was playing quarterback, switched to running back, super athletic, is able to break away plays downfield, is able to take off. If the hole's there, he is very fast, very athletic, and should be awesome to see him. And I think he's a guy that'll get a lot of yards in this game. Before I talk about the playmakers for Penn State, I do want to touch on Joey Porter Jr. Him being gone, he had 8 interceptions this year. Big time playmaker. Him being gone is a solid factor. But like I said, us having Dalton Kincaid out should kind of even things out a little bit. But according to, the data and the PFF grades, Joey Porter Jr. was not the best cornerback at Penn State. It was actually Kalen King. This guy's really good. I believe he had 15 passes defended, pass deflections. So let's take a look here. Does it even show it on here? I guess it doesn't show it on here. Let me pull it up on the main sheet here. Okay. So take a look here, guys. Kalen King right here. Yeah, 15 pass deflections. That's pretty wild, guys. Only 2 interceptions on the year, which isn't crazy, but the 15 pass deflections is pretty nuts. He's a cornerback for the Nittany Lions and definitely a playmaker. The good thing is, one corner can't cover everybody. So he won't be able to just fly all over the field and light up our guys. But I would say that could mean Devon Vele could have a really tough matchup in this game, the wide receiver for Utah. So we'll see how that goes. But the great thing about the Utah offense is we have a lot of different weapons at wide receiver and tight end that having one of our guys get shut down is not going to be a huge deal for us. All right, guys. And the next playmaker for the Nittany Lions for Penn State is going to be Jair Brown. Now, this kid is definitely a playmaker. You take a look at him 5'11, 208 pounds. He is an in the box safety with one of his biggest skills being pass rush. He's not a liability in coverage, but it's not like his shining quality. I mean, he's got 3 interceptions, 4 passes defended. That's very good, right? But his big thing is he has 3 sacks as a safety. I mean, that's pretty dang impressive. 2 forced fumbles, so he likes to hit, right? Definitely a guy that we're going to need to keep an eye on. So he's a safety. So a lot of their playmakers are in the secondary. And keeping an eye on this guy and Kalen King are going to be a big factor to why or why not we win this game. Jair Brown can do a lot. He's very versatile. And you definitely want to make sure you have a man on him if he's in the box. All right, now let's take a look at the PFF grades for the different playmakers we talked about. So the first guy we'll look at is going to be Cam Rising, the quarterback for Utah, a 79 overall grade. So 73.2 of that is the pass grade. So a good pass grade, but not amazing. I mean, I'm sure you guys remember throughout the games during the season, Cam had some tough games throwing the ball, really mainly the Oregon game, but outside of that, pretty good overall. 76.8 rushing. So he really is a threat with his feet. I wouldn't be surprised if Cam is going to have to make some plays with his feet this game. I mean, they have a good secondary. I wouldn't be surprised to see him have to get some of those third down conversions with his feet. The receiving grade, he's only had 3 receiving plays, so we won't really talk about that. But he did catch that one sideline pass, and I forget which game it was. Maybe the first USC game. All right, and then let's also take a look at Jaquindon Jackson. So we actually have to take off the snap count minimum just to find Jaquindon Jackson. But check this guy out. This is why I put him up there, guys. Right now, in those 117 plays he's had this year, he is grading out as a 90.8. So that means he is grading out as one of the best running backs in all of college football. His rushing grade is a 90.4. I mean, that's just wild. Very good pass blocking as well. Kind of concerning to see such a bad receiving grade, but is what it is. The guy's a monster. He is. I think a lot of commentators are going to look at Utah and say, like, hey, well, they don't have Tavion Thomas in, so that's going to be a big hit. Honestly, Tavion Thomas played well at times, and he also played terribly at times, and he had some issues off the field that really prevented some of the stuff Utah was doing. I feel like right now having Jaquindon Jackson in makes me more confident than if we had Tavion Thomas in. And I'm sure I'm not the only one feeling that way. All right, now let's take a look at Jair Brown, the safety for Penn State. Let's take a look here. Okay, Penn State. So Jair Brown right here is 73.3 grade, above a good coverage grade, pretty good coverage grade. And okay, run defense grade, average run defense grade, and a very good pass rush grade. You got to keep an eye on this guy. If he crowds up the box and they're trying to rush him, you're going to have to put someone on him. He is a very good player. All right, and then let's take a look at the cornerbacks. So cornerbacks, the guy we're looking at is Kalen King. All right, here he is. So he's a beast. Like I was saying, guys, Joey Porter Jr. is going to be a hit for them. They're going to notice that he's out. He's a really good corner, and I would also say that Joey Porter Jr. was also probably covering the number one guys, would be my guess, at least most of the time. But Kalen King, either way, a 87.3 grade, 90.1 coverage grade, very good coverage corner. He should be a guy that we're going to actually want to avoid, not throw his way unless we absolutely have someone wide open. All right, guys, and here we go. Let's talk about the final numbers for this game. What is Utah's offense going to try to do? And how well will Penn State be able to stop it? So right off the bat, Utah has a pretty strong lean towards running the ball at 55.23, which is number 43 in the country for percentage of plays that are run plays. So they want to run the ball a little more than not. Pass play percentage 44.77%, which is number 89 in the country. I would say a couple things when you look at that. Utah has had some big leads, right? Utah has had some games where we had some really big leads and had to run the ball just to milk that clock. I think it is part of what we want to do to establish our identity as an offense. But the pass play percentage, I mean, we throw when we have to, and we do a really good job of it. I feel like some of our passing numbers are a little, they look lower than they actually are because of how well we run the ball, and we can just do it when we want to, if that makes sense. So again, we're running the ball 55% of the time, passing 45% of the time. All right, and then pass yards per game, Utah is going to be number 200 or Utah is passing for 244.2 yards per game. And then Penn State's passing defense is 212 yards per game. So you kind of meet those two in the middle. You would think we'd be looking at about 230 yards for Utah. But I got to tell you, I just don't feel like that's fair. I'm not going to say that number. I'm not going to say 230 yards, especially in big games, right? Especially when it is a high scoring game. And another thing is Bryson Barnes through for one of those games was Bryson Barnes, right? So consider that as well. So my guess at how many passing yards Utah gets, because when we need to shoot it out, we do, is going to be about 265 to 275 passing yards. And then rushing yards per game, we average 218.1. We're number 10 in the country there. Penn State rushing yards a game allowed is 106.2. So they're number 11 in the country at rush defense. So we got a really good rushing offense in Utah going against a really good rushing defense in Penn State, right? It's a tough one. It's a tough one there. I feel like Utah is going to meet somewhere in the middle there, around 150 rushing yards, 150 to 175. Um, Opt-outs for Penn State, like I said, Joey Porter Jr., and then opt-outs for Utah is going to be Dalton Kincaid. Now let's talk about points per game. So points per game, 37.3 points per game for Utah, number 11 in the country, really high flying offense, scores a lot of points. Penn State is an extremely good defense as well, though. 18 points per game. They're number 8 in the country. So these two teams are going to go at it. When you break all that down, right? When you break all that down, you got Utah going for, oh man, it's a tough one, right? you gotta, like I said, you gotta lean strength of schedule. Penn State is a slightly harder strength of schedule, so you gotta lean them a little bit. But I would say Utah. Okay, so let me make a few points. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling here, but a lot of Penn State's schedule, right? That strength of schedule is the Big Ten has a handful of very good teams and then a lot of bad teams. Let's be honest about that. There's a lot of bad teams in the Big Ten. Illinois, Nebraska, Northwest. I mean, Illinois is not terrible, but Nebraska, Northwestern, and the Pac-12's got some of that as well. But I feel like the Big Ten has the bottom half of the Big Ten has more bad teams than the bottom half of the Pac-12, and that could inflate Penn State's defensive numbers, like yards allowed and points per game. So I see Utah, getting about 28 to 31 points in this game. You look at those numbers, I think we're going to get a lot of yards. It's going to be 28 to 31 yards. And, when you consider that, if make sure you guys watch the Penn State offense versus Utah's defense video I did, because this is going to be neck and neck. We're going to need to look really good if you want to make this happen, because these both teams are going to put up points and it's going to be close. It's going to come down to who can get it done. But I would say if you told me that the game was going to be on the line at the end of the game and it was going to be either Sean Clifford or Cam Rising to make a clutch play to win the game, I'd feel pretty damn confident that it's Cam Rising over Sean Clifford. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you like the video. It'll help get it out to more Utes fans. Also, comment down below who are some other playmakers I might not be talking about. Obviously, I know a lot of them for Utah, but maybe some other guys on Penn State that I didn't exactly shout out on their defense. I saw some other pretty good guys when I was breaking it down. And most of all, subscribe, whether you're a Pac-12, Big Ten, Utah, Penn State fan. If you guys want some Rose Bowl coverage, I'm going to keep it coming over the next week or two. So I'm excited to see what you guys think. And I'm out. Go Utes.